Hey, what's going on YouTube? What's going on Facebook? I'm Big Dog Brett. Want to get my Auburn, Georgia prediction video out. Wanted to try and get it out before the last minute this week. Kind of had a epic fail past couple of weeks getting this stuff out on time, so sorry, I have a busy life, I guess. Okay, let's kind of jump into it. This is an SEC West team versus Georgia. Kirby Smart doesn't have a great record against the West when we're on the road, but at home, we tend to do pretty good. So this is going to be a night game in Georgia. Auburn season's pretty much over. They can't make it to the SEC championship. They can't really do anything. They're already going to go to a bowl game for the most part. So there's not a whole lot of reason right here for Auburn to be playing other than bragging rights. A little bit of animosity maybe from last year from them getting their tails handed to them in the SEC championship game. And maybe trying to play spoiler against Georgia in some way, shape, form, or fashion to try and keep us out of the playoffs. But other than that, Auburn really doesn't have any motivation to try and win this game other than just to win a game. So what I want to kind of get into is the differences between the two teams. If you guys don't know, Georgia's like an 86 or 87% projected winner for this game. But if you look at the numbers are a little closer than probably what you would imagine. Auburn is a 6-3 team right now. They've lost, let's see, they lost a game to Tennessee, and they lost a game to Mississippi State. And who was the other team they lost to? Dang. Let's see. Pulling that up just because I can't remember who it was. LSU, Mississippi State, and Tennessee. That's right. So whenever they've played, they've had one game where they scored major points. They scored 63 points against Alabama State. It's probably the only team in Alabama they can beat. So they played LSU tight, but they had a dominating win over Arkansas. 11-point win over Southern Mississippi, who's a dumpster fire team. Mississippi State, they beat them 23-9, which is pretty good. But they only beat Tennessee by 6. They beat Ole Miss by a couple of touchdowns and barely edged off Texas A&M. So, this is a team that's struggling with performance. And by the way, they only beat Washington, who was ranked number 6. They did beat them at the time by 5 points. So, they've played some of these teams pretty close, but I just don't see any, other than that one win of that nobody team, that they've got anything going on. They have no running back, or at least no running back to be concerned with. They've got Jay Whitlow, which has 108 carries, and he's got 642 yards, which sounds good, but it's not been very. A lot of those yards came in games where they were crushing smaller teams. Evander Holyfield has 103 carries, which is 5 less carries, and he has 674 yards. Their receiving guy, which is mainly D. Slayton, has 29 receptions for 439 yards. Ryan Ridley has 30 receptions for the Dogs with 411 yards. Those stats look close. You jump over to Jake Fromm. Stidham actually has more yards than Jake Fromm at 1,953. Jake Fromm has 1,762. The difference being is that Stidham has 10 touchdowns and Jake Fromm has 17. There's a huge difference there. They average 28 points a game. 28 points a game. Georgia manages 38 a game. They allow 17. Georgia allows 16. Total yards 377. Georgia 456. Passing yards, they're at 222. Georgia's at 222.4, practically identical. Rushing yards, they're at 155, and Georgia's at 233. So it's about an 80-yard difference there. Yards allowed, they allow 356 yards a game. Georgia has allowed around 300. Pass yards that they allow is 222, which is pretty much dead even with Georgia's average. And the rush allowed is 134, which is 100 yards shorter than Georgia's average. Now, I think that Holyfield and Swift are kind of starting to, the run game is starting to come together for them. They're starting to find the rhythm. They're starting to find more opportunity to create big plays because they're not being swapped out every play. They're giving them some opportunity to get comfortable and get in rhythm with the offense, which is great. This particular game, now it's a rivalry game, and for those of you who don't know, this is called the Deep South's oldest rivalry. And depending on who you talk to, you're going to find that Georgia says that we've played one more game than they have, and we beat them that game. They don't claim that game. In my personal opinion, if a game was played, then it has to be claimed. You can't just choose not to claim a game. That doesn't work that way. If they played, they played, and they did play. So the very fact that there's multiple, what do you call it? They've claimed some championships or whatnot, that there was other teams that went undefeated that year. You know, it's all bull as far as that goes. If you're going to claim anything that's not necessarily accurate, then you got to claim it all. So claim it all. Georgia leads the series. I forget what we lead the series as, but I know we lead the series. Let's see if it says. I don't think it says right here. Anyway, doesn't matter. We're playing Gus Malzahn's trickeration, try to confuse, try to hurry up offense. We played it last year. We got curb stomped. Went to the SEC championship and returned the favor, and then off to the college football playoff we went. So the interesting thing here now is that even though Georgia's clinched the East, if we lose this game, unless something dramatic happens, that's going to create some problems with the college football playoff, because they've never put a two-loss team in. College football playoff hasn't been around very many years yet, but it's possible that in the future, or even this year, that a team with 2 losses could be considered to play in a national championship. It's weird, but I mean, they've already proved last year that Alabama didn't win the national championship, or excuse me, they won the national championship but didn't win the SEC championship. So the division title didn't matter as much. So who knows? So we'll see how it all pans out. But at the end of the day, Georgia's got to win this game. It's got to win every game going forward if we want to move into the college football playoff rankings. So whether we're in the college football playoff rankings doesn't matter. We still got to win the games. So if we were 9-0 right now instead of 8-1, we couldn't throw this game away. We'd still have to try to play this game to win it because of this late in the season. If Georgia was to take a loss, it would be very damaging. We wouldn't want to do that, especially to a team that's barely ranked. This will be another team that Georgia's beat that's ranked in the top 25. Whether that'll be considered in the college football playoff mix, I don't know. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. But Auburn's run game is pretty much non-existent. They don't have a running back this year that's dynamic or anybody you got to worry about. Yeah, I know that Whitlow and Holyfield have pretty much identical yards, but keep in mind that that's because Holyfield has been splitting carries with Swift. So Georgia's been producing almost as much on the ground through Swift as Holyfield has been creating. They don't have 2 backs. They barely have a half a back. So, I mean, they're not going to be able to run the ball. Now, what I think is going to happen, that Georgia's not going to sell out to stop the run like they did against University of Kentucky. I don't think they're going to be as worried about the run. They're still going to stop the run, but I think they're going to they're going to shift to trying to make Stedham one-dimensional, in that he's going to have to hand the ball off. Now, Stedham's supposed to be a dual-threat quarterback. He's really not. I mean, he can pick up some yards here and there, but he's not a true dual-threat quarterback. He's okay on his feet and he's okay with his arm, but he's great at neither. So, man, I never seem to be able to get through one of these without coughing my head off. I don't know why. Anyway, so what you're looking at is that Georgia's probably going to play a mixed defense. You're going to see not going to load the box heavy, not going to load the backfield heavy, or excuse me, not going to load the secondary heavy. We're just going to kind of see where it takes us, and we're going to work it from there. Is Auburn capable of winning this game? Absolutely. It's a rivalry game. Great news for Georgia is that it's 7 o'clock at night in Athens. That place is going to be absolutely alive. I mean, everybody that can steal, scrounge, gouge a ticket is going to get one and get in. If I could get one, I'd be there. But that ain't going to work out this week. So unless one of you guys wants to buy me a ticket, then I'll go. But I doubt that happens. If you want to buy me a ticket, comment down in the comment section with your email. We'll get in touch. We'll go to the game, and I'll put you on the channel. But I'm betting that don't happen. But it'd be great if it did. So, Georgia's last 3 opponents have been ranked, which will be LSU, which we lost. Florida was ranked 9th. The University of Kentucky was ranked 9th. Practically identical scores in all 3 of those games, except with the LSU game, it was flipped the other way around. LSU with 36. So the last 2 games, Georgia 34, 36 points. Our competition was 17 and 17. Their last 2 games have been against Ole Miss. They won by 15, and their last game against Texas A&M, they won by 4 points. I'm going to tell you right now, Jake Fromm is a much better quarterback than the quarterback at Texas A&M. There's absolutely no doubt about it. If you've watched Jake Fromm play, you'll know that. Past 2 games, Jake Fromm has done extremely well. He seemed to be able to hit his targets when he wants to hit them. He's been able to move the ball. We've been running the ball the way we need to. So I don't see a whole lot of opportunity for Auburn in this game. And I really don't think at this stage in the game that Kirby Smart's going to have to do a whole lot to keep these guys from falling into the trap of, well, you clinched the East last week, so now it's a letdown week and this is a trap game. I think everybody knows moving forward that if they want a shot at the college football playoff, they have absolutely got to they've got to play at 110%. Simple as that. So what do I predict the score to be? Well, I'm going to say that Georgia's probably going to stick around its average and probably do around 36 points a game. And I'm going to say that Auburn is probably going to be around 18 points. So I'm going to say 38-18, 38-17, which, I mean, it's pretty much what we've been doing all year to people. If they score more than that, I'll be highly surprised. One thing that I think Georgia's going to have to do is continue to work on creating turnovers. We've done a good job of that this year, but we've got to get better at it. We've got some bigger teams coming up we've got to prepare for. Georgia's not able to create a turnover deficit. Things are going to get hard in some of these later games because we struggle in some areas where we need those opportunities to be converted. I do think that Georgia is going to improve in its goal line attack. The past 2 games, we've really struggled to punch the ball in on the goal line. It's kind of embarrassing what happened at Florida, and it happened again at University of Kentucky, so that was also pretty embarrassing. But at the end of the day, hopefully they've made the adjustments in the transitions, and we're going to be able to get the offense picked up. Now, as far as the defense goes, I want to see Georgia do a much better job at the pass rush. We've got a couple of freshman linebackers that seem to be doing a much better job at being able to get into the backfield and create some havoc and disrupt the quarterback. And they've got to be able to do that if they want to, again, continue to improve moving forward. Looking at the schedule, this game should be something where we want to put in Justin Fields for a whole series, if not a whole quarter, get him some playing experience, try to get some points on the board in the first half to kind of put the game away, and then have Justin Fields come out and then have him throw around a little bit and maybe even run the rest of the game. And that way, he's got some stuff in his pocket moving forward. All right, so the other thing I want to talk about is the Alabama-Mississippi State game. Excuse me, I'm still getting over the cold. If you saw the video on Saturday, you know that I have a cold, so it is what it is. All right, here we go. Now, I'm gonna be watching the Alabama-Mississippi State game. Mississippi State's ranked 16th. I think this is an over-ranking. I don't think they're that strong. The stat line in this is pretty much the same as it is in the Georgia game. Alabama's at 89.7%. Mississippi State's at 10% chance to win that game. I don't think this is a trap game for Alabama either. I know they clinched last week with their win over LSU. Some teams have to worry about a fall off after a big game like that, but I don't think that's going to be the case. If you look at the quarterback, I mean, Tua is just insane. I mean, he's almost 2,400 yards and he's at 27 touchdowns. Nick Fitzgerald's at 1250 and he's at 10 touchdowns, which is nearly, a third of what Tua's at, and he's had 7 interceptions. Yeah, 7. Their leading rusher is also Nick Fitzgerald. He may be a dual threat quarterback, but he's not that good at it. He's just not going to be able to. He's not going to be able to get it done. Their number one guy is Mitchell. They really only have one guy they throw to. He's got 20 receptions, 347 yards. This is not going to be a game where I think Alabama's going to struggle. I don't think they have a run game because they don't have a run game, and as fast as Alabama's secondary is, you can probably expect Nick Fitzgerald to be picked off once, if not twice, in this game. It's just not going to be pretty. Alabama's going to crush them. I mean, you're probably looking at a score of 45 to, I'll say 45 to 17 or 45 to 20. It's not going to be close. It's going to be a killing. You'll see a Tua come out of this game pretty early. They're not going to risk damaging Tua without having Jalen as a backup. Jalen's still injured, as far as I know. Maybe that's changed, but I haven't seen anything that says he's not injured. I understand third-string guy's a 5-star quarterback, but he hasn't had as much playing time as Tua has. But they're definitely going to slap him in as soon as they can. Now, this would be a terrible time for Tua to re-injure that knee. I know it's only been a week, but they're probably going to be looking to take it very light on Tua. Probably not going to rush very much. He's not going to run the ball very much. It's going to be a passing scheme and a handoff scheme. Harris is going to run the ball quite a bit. I don't think Mississippi State's going to be able to do anything to stop them. I mean, they allow only a little over 100 yards in rushing a game, but I don't think they're going to be able to keep Alabama's offensive line from pushing them around. Simple as that. Who else did I want to talk about? Florida, South Carolina. Florida win that game by 2 touchdowns. You're probably looking at a score of 28-14, 28-17. Tennessee versus the University of Kentucky. Tennessee's offense last week was pretty abysmal. I mean, they got out of there with a win. Those kids kept fighting. I think it was a coaching problem. There were some bad plays called. They didn't get the right schemes called. They got lined up wrong. I mean, it was just it was a fight for every yard along the way. That being the case, I think University of Kentucky is going to be real bitter after a loss to Georgia. I don't think Tennessee's going to have an answer for that. I think you're going to see 7 or 10 points from Tennessee at the most, and you're probably going to see 30 to 32 points for the University of Kentucky. The University of Kentucky is just going to be bitter and really pissed off, and they're going to get out there and put a hurting on some folks. Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State. This is a rivalry game, and sometimes it seems like those rivalry games shoot them in the foot. Neither one of those teams really have a defense, so we'll see what happens. Georgia Auburn already covered. Notre Dame FSU, 60-0. They're going to get killed. LSU is still going to be ticked off about last week. They're going to play Arkansas. You're probably going to see 45-10. Texas playing TTU for whatever reason. Texas versus Texas Tech always seems to be a problem. But Texas will probably win that game. But they just seem to play to whatever their opponent's level is, up or down. Georgia used to be that way, and it's annoying. Texas should have won last week, lost that game. They should win this week. We'll see what happens. If they win, they'll win by a touchdown or a field goal. So 28-25. Clemson versus BC. Is that Bethune-Cook or whoever that is? Anyway, they're ranked 17. They're 7-2. Clemson's obviously 9-0, ranked number 2 in the country. One of probably the second most powerful offense in the country behind Alabama as far as passing goes, as far as overall offense goes. But they're more pass heavy than anything else. I think last week they hung 400 or 500 points on a team. You're probably going to see them try to repeat that performance this year. Probably see them score 45 points. You know, BC will probably have 20 at the most, but it won't be over that. Well, guys, that's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot to really get into. I think we all know what we're looking at this week. Georgia and Alabama just have to keep from stubbing their toes. As crazier things happen, yes, but I don't see it being a problem for either team. What was that team? There was one more I wanted to talk about. Where was it at? Who was playing the Spartans? There, OSU versus the Sparties, Michigan State. Who knows what in the heck's going on with Ohio State? I don't know if there's something going on in the locker room, something going on with the coaching staff. They got the hell beat out of them by Purdue. No reason that should have happened, but it did. Mississippi State Spartans is a team. They always seem to be, you know, right in the mix somewhere in there. They're a good team, and I think that this game could really go either way. I predict that this is going to be. They're saying OSU's got a 60% to 40% chance. I don't know if I buy that. They're listing Ohio State as a 3.5 point favorite, which I think is terrible. Just the fact that Ohio State allows an average of almost 400 yards per game, and the Sparties do 325. I like the Sparties in this one, and keep in mind the Sparties beat Purdue. They held Purdue to 13 points. And you may say, oh, the transitive property. I get that, but I mean, hell, Ohio State almost lost to Nebraska, and that's unacceptable. I mean, they barely beat Penn State. Penn State ranked number 9 at the time, but these teams, I mean, they pretty much played back to back. I mean, and Michigan State beat the Sparties 21-17. Ohio beat Penn State, or 27-26. So, I mean, I personally think the Sparties have got a better defense. I mean, they held Maryland to 3 points. They held Purdue to 13. Michigan only scored 21 points on them. Now, keep in mind, Michigan is ranked above Georgia. And, I mean, Michigan put some damn points on the board. I mean, they did 24. They scored 17 points against Notre Dame, but that was the very first game of the season. I'm willing to give them a pass. WMU, 49 points. SMU, 45 points. Nebraska, 56 points. Northwestern was a closer game at 20, but they hung 42 points on Maryland, 38 points on Wisconsin, 21 points on the Sparties, 42 points on Penn State. So when I tell you that Michigan has an offense, and the Sparties, even though they lost, only held them to only 21, that's an impressive defense. So, to me, I don't think Ohio State's going to win this game. I'm going to take the Sparties on this. I think the Sparties will probably have a closer to 75% chance of winning this game rather than a 40. They don't have a big rusher. They don't really have a big running game. But with the way that Ohio State's been giving up passing yards, they give up 240 yards plus a game passing every game. Well, Michigan State, their average for rush yards, and I just read you some of the teams that they've played. That includes Michigan State, Penn State, Northwestern, Notre Dame. They only give up an average of 71 yards a game on the ground. That's going to make Ohio State one-dimensional, because Ohio State averages almost 180 yards in rushing a game. So I think the Sparties is going to walk away with that. Here's my opinion. I'll pick a score on this. Let me think. 28-24. Well, let's see. Yeah, 28-24. I'll go with that. 28-24 Sparties. All right, guys. Video is getting kind of long. It's 25 minutes in. I tried to get through it as quick as I could. A lot of information to cover, but I think Georgia's going to have a good game. I think that Alabama's going to have a good game. I think that the University of Tennessee is going to be a killing. University of Kentucky versus Tennessee is going to be a killing, and I think the Sparties are going to walk out of there with a win as well. So, guys, this is what it is. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, share with your friends. Thank you guys for watching all the videos. Really appreciate it. And you know, feel free to reach out to me in the comment section, and we'll get into it down there. So thanks again, guys. You know, good luck this weekend with your teams. Is what it is. So thanks so much, guys. And as always, God bless. Go Dogs.